What's up, everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to another edition of Track Walk in MX Simulator, where today we're going to be playing the 2019 Honda test track, just released on the forums by Tyran Tomich. But I don't believe it actually was a Tyran Tomich track. I think it's a Jack Perry track. Jack Perry's been banned on the forums for a very long time. Because if you click on the actual track link, it takes you to the Connect Visual Facebook page, which I'm almost positive is Jack Perry's Facebook page. And even when this track was posted on that page, Tomich posted on the comment section below it and said "King" with a king crown emoji. So I'm pretty sure this is a Jack Perry track, even though Tomich posted it. And yeah, this is essentially just like a kind of a hyper-realistic take on the 2019 Honda test track. So obviously it's a little bit old now when it comes to timeliness of the test track. But they tried to make this track, I guess Jack tried to make this track as one-to-one scale as possible. He used a new traction that's a little bit like kind of more grippy roll resistance on it. And he used a 3D overhead texture by the looks of it as well to kind of get the most realistic looking version of the Honda test track that we would have from like an overhead view. And then on top of that, even laid down some like small little ruts where you can see ruts in the corners. So like right there's a tiny little notched rut you can lay in this corner right here. This is actually dug into the corner just a little bit, that rut. It's like kind of tough to tell, I guess, from just watching the video, but actually riding the track, you can definitely feel the ruts. They kind of like hook you in just a little bit. Like that corner as well just has a little bit notch in the corner. The whoops are a little bit small, a little bit kind of tough to get a run through because they are so small, like you kind of stay right up on top of them. But look, you can see on the left hand side of the screen right there, that rut, it's kind of like divvied down into the dirt a little bit. So that's kind of like a cool take on it. I haven't seen many people try this with especially supercross tracks, but test tracks no less, which obviously in real life they pretty much end up hitting the same 6-inch section of the track over and over and over again when they're testing in real life, which personally I don't feel like test the bike very well, but to each their own. So this is kind of like the most, I guess, realistic version of a test track that we've ever had in the game. Like it's you know, pretty close to one-to-one scale, grippy traction, so maybe a little bit too grippy. Probably should have a little bit more slide to it, but it's meant to slow the bikes down so that they can not jump as unrealistically far as you kind of can in this game. And then the ruts laid into the ground with the overhead texture. All in all, just like a, you know, kind of good put together version of a Honda test track. So saw it pop up on the forums a couple days ago, felt like it was a good rendition of it, had done a little bit of testing on it as well just to see what it felt like, then loaded it up again today just to try it again and see if I really did want to go for a track walk on it, and yeah, good enough for me. So well done, Jack Perry or Tyran Tomich, whichever one of you actually did the track. Again, I think this is Jack Perry, but very nice take on the Honda test track. And also kind of cool as well that like he didn't try to go really hard with like finding the most recent version of the test track or anything like that. Like he just went back and found a good overhead version of the track that probably was on Google Earth, would be my guess, is where he pulled the overhead from. And this is what the, you know, test track was at the time. It looks like it was maybe at a point in time where the track was starting to be used a little bit less, like still pretty fresh, but not extremely fresh, because you're starting to see some of the vegetation appear on the sides of the jumps, like the little green shrubbery that you can see on each side of the track as I'm going through right here. That's usually a sign that the jumps had been up for a while and it had, you know, rained and had the weather come through the track. So yeah, like I would say that this probably is when the season's already started. I'd have to say my guess is probably February is when this track image is from. And then, yeah, just the actual layout of the track as well, which has been seen quite a bit. I think this is the same layout of the or version of the track from Monster Energy Supercross 3 when they included all the compound tracks in the game. So if you try the Honda test track, this is pretty much the same version of the track from that game, as well as we've seen it used in like many testing videos and stuff like that from way back when. Tim Geiser, I believe, when he came over to test for the Monster Energy Cup, also rode this track, so there was some videos of Tim Geiser riding this track as well. So it has seen the light of day a couple times, I'm sure. Even without thinking of it, some of you watching this video would have seen this track being tested on at some point. So this is Ken Roxon, and I guess at that time would have been Brayton, maybe his teammate, or is that 20? So maybe Cole Seeley the season before it would have been his teammate. And then obviously all the Geico Honda guys from this time as well, trying to think who would have been on that program back in 2019. It's been a little bit of a time since that's happened. I don't think that's not Jet and Joe just quite yet. So I'm thinking, what, J Mart, Sexton. Oh man, who else? That team went through so many changes in just a couple year time before obviously they closed their door at the end of 2020. So yeah, there's a decent amount of Honda riders obviously that did some testing on this track and saw the light of day. So always kind of fun to be able to go back, relive that a little bit, and feel like you're riding on the test track that all those guys rode. You know, like it's a very realistic rendition of it. Gives you a good sense of what the track looked like, what it felt like, maybe a little bit, maybe how it rode as well. I don't know if they're doing this quad over quad line. I feel like that's like a modern day Sexton line, but I don't remember if any of the guys are doing that. Oftentimes what ends up happening with these test tracks as well is that sometimes they will hit like ridiculously big lines. They'll go like 4-4 somewhere or whatever. But most of the time they've worked in the lines enough that they've found how like to low line some sections, you know, like a jump that could be quadable, but they end up hugging like the far left side of the track so that they can like scrub triple it by just basically not even hitting the face of the jump and stuff like that. So I would have to imagine that a lot of the lines that you see weathered in right here were done so by Roxon and Seeley, and they pretty much are just trying to hit their marks and, you know, hit this inside right here, come through this section, double, follow the flow of this corner, hit this Dragon's Back, which honestly is a bit of a tough Dragon's Back to hit. Then finish line jump. Obviously there's a very standard rut that they were hitting in this corner right here. Got a deep rut coming out of that. A couple different options coming into this corner. It seems like sometimes they'd cut down early, sometimes they'd swing a little bit wide. Pretty sure they were only going 2-3 right there instead of 3-2, but it just feels easier for me to 3-2. Inside line, supercross triple, then outside here obviously, then triple in. Maybe even double, triple, quad, triple maybe through there. I'll try that next time through. But that line that I took right there, I feel like is also a pretty standard line. Out of this corner, double in and get a run for the whoops, just kind of trying to stay on top of them and not go off the side of the track. Fortunately, these banners you can go through. And then, yeah, a little wall jump, hug this inside rut right here, flow out of this corner, then step up, step off, triple over, and then just kind of double into this corner right here. Continue to follow that rut. Double through this section right here. And then, yeah, that's a full lap of the track. So pretty standard little test track, nothing wild or crazy about it, but that is often what happens with the test tracks. They don't often feel like, it doesn't feel like they build something that's really gnarly for guys to almost like struggle with every single lap, because last thing they want when they're out testing is to have something that is almost like a guessing game for them to hit every single lap. So let's try this line. It looks like they came out of this corner, doubled in, tripled, and then maybe table over single. Oh yeah, look, there's even ruts in transition to this jump right here. So look at Jack Perry laying a couple ruts down right there. That's actually really cool. Like, those are really tiny ruts, but that is also very realistic to what it would be in real life, because like they're not going to have uber deep ruts. So again, double in, triple, and then I think table to table, triple into the corner, landing those ruts again. Yeah, that feels about right for maybe what they were doing right there. Double into this section, into the whoops again. So yeah, just a really nice take here on the 2019 Honda test track. I would say that like if you're a pseudo beginner to the game, still maybe trying to get to grips with learning the game, this is probably not the track for you, which is something that I don't love doing on Track Walk. I don't love showing you something that is maybe a bit too hard for everybody to play, but it really is one of those tracks that like the traction will catch you off guard if you're not used to it, because it is so grippy. The ruts are obviously a little bit tricky to get used to because you end up cutting across them too much and stuff like that. And then because it is 1-to-1 scale, you definitely have to be pretty precise with your movements and where you land and stuff like that as well. So maybe if you're like novice in this game still, probably not the track for you, but anybody intermediate and above, this is probably a good track for you guys to try out. You know, work on a couple skill sets. I feel like what this is trying to maybe teach me a little bit again is throttle control, because of that traction. Like, you can just absolutely get on the throttle, but you're also trying to connect the corners and connect the lines and stuff like that. So you really got to kind of flow through corners as well. Yeah, so it's a good little test track. It's a good, I think, baseline for helping you work on a couple things in the game. But also, like I said, just a nice track to kind of relive the 2019 season with those Honda boys and have fun trying out a nice little custom track here in the game as well. So shout out Jack Perry, shout out Tyran Tomich, whichever one of you guys actually ended up making the track. Thanks so much for putting the time and the effort in to try something new, try something a little bit different, give us something to talk about here in MX Simulator. And yeah, awesome stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. As always, please be sure to download the track in the description below. There'll be a link down there. You guys can go down there, support the creators, support the people over there at Connect Visual. And yeah, of course, big shout out to them as well. So thanks guys for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you guys in our next video here on the channel. But I'm heading out for now. So long for now.